So you're thinking about moving to Spain? Great choice, but don't book that flight just yet. There is one thing that can make or break your visa, and that's health insurance. And trust me, it's not as simple as it sounds. I have been through the process twice, once with ASISA for my non-lucrative visa, and then later with ADESLAS when I moved to Spain after Croatia and applied for residency through Pareja de Hecho. In this video, I will break down the pros, the cons, and the difference between public and private insurance and advantages of having both, just for you to know better. Let's dive right in. Why does Spain care so much about health insurance anyway? It's simple and it's a no-brainer. They don't want you becoming a burden on their public healthcare system. And the Spanish government basically wants proof that you're covered for any medical expenses that might pop up during your stay. Makes sense, right? Moving on, here's exactly what your insurance policy must include to get approved. First, there should be no co-payments or deductibles, meaning your policy needs to offer full coverage without requiring you to pay part of the cost. Next, coverage throughout all of Spain. A regional only coverage won't cut it. Coverage for the entire duration of your stay, meaning if you're applying for a 1-year visa, your insurance should be valid for at least 1 year. Next, the minimum coverage of 30,000 euros. This is the magic number that Spanish authorities look for. And lastly, coverage for all medical necessities, including emergency care, hospitalization, and repatriation if needed. And if you don't know where to start, here are some popular insurance providers for expats in Spain. Some companies have made a name for themselves by offering policies specifically designed for residency applications. So there's Sanitas, one of Spain's largest providers with English-speaking customer service, but they can be quite expensive. And then there's ADESLAS, another major Spanish provider with extensive networks and competitive rates. Then there's ASISA, which is known for having plans designed specifically for foreigners, and DKV, which offers good coverage nationwide with competitive rates. International providers like Senia and Alliance are also options, but make sure they meet all the Spanish residency requirements. Now let's talk about my personal experience. When I applied for a non-lucrative visa, I used ASISA with coverage from August through December of 2021 and paid around 307 euros plus any applicable transaction fees at that time. Fortunately, I never needed to file any medical claims during this coverage period, which means I can't really provide insights on their claim process, customer service, or healthcare network quality. I chose ASISA for my non-lucrative visa application because I was able to get in touch with an English-speaking representative named Jane Priestley, who was able to explain to me properly the required insurance for the non-lucrative visa. Also, Jane told me that I don't need to pay for a full year because the insurance will automatically renew in January unless I decided to opt out. This worked for me when my non-lucrative visa application was rejected or denied and I had to pivot and went to Croatia instead. The insurance was non-refundable even if my application was denied. As for my ADESLAS experience, when I moved to Barcelona in 2022 and applied for residency through Pareja de Hecho, I needed another insurance, and this time I chose ADESLAS because it's widely accepted in a lot of hospitals and specialists here in Barcelona. I've been with ADESLAS for 3 years now with their basic coverage plan at 600 euros annually. My usage has been primarily for routine care like annual dermatological visits for eczema management, regular ophthalmologist checkups, and annual dental cleanings. I haven't required any major medical interventions during this time, knock on wood, which has been fortunate. The routine appointments have been straightforward to schedule and attend within their provider network. And I never had to pay anything out of pocket. Everything was covered by my insurance. As of the moment, I am currently transitioning to a company health insurance plan with ADESLAS, which will allow me to classify the expense as a business deduction. The new plan will cost around 720 euros annually, but it includes enhanced coverage compared to my previous ADESLAS plan. While I fortunately haven't needed extensive medical care during my time in Spain, both providers have adequately served their purpose for residency requirements and routine healthcare needs. The ability to now categorize my health insurance as a business expense adds value beyond just the expanded coverage. And now let's go to the question most of you might have: how much will this cost me? If you're under 50 and healthy, expect to pay between 50 to 120 euros monthly. If you're over 50 years old, you're looking at 100 to 200 euros per month. And yes, pre-existing conditions will affect your premium. Important thing to understand: if you're applying for residency and you don't have NIA and Spanish bank account yet, you won't be eligible for monthly payments, which means you will have to pay for the entire year. Here's a tip: don't just get any policy, make sure it meets all requirements for Spanish residency, and get that certificate in both English and Spanish to avoid delays. And here's something many people don't realize: travel insurance won't cut it. Immigration officials know the difference and they will reject your application. I've seen it happen to fellow expats who tried to save a few euros. It's not worth it, I tell you. So, what about public healthcare? Once you've been in Spain for a while, you might qualify for public healthcare. And to qualify for public healthcare in Spain, you generally need to be registered with the Spanish social security system and have a valid residency permit, or be a dependent of someone who is registered. Essentially, contributing to the social security through employment or self-employment grants you access to the public healthcare system. You can also voluntarily pay into Social Security in Spain through the Convenio Especial scheme, which allows you to access public healthcare by making voluntary contributions. This is particularly relevant for those on non-lucrative visas who are not employed and therefore don't have mandatory Social Security contributions. This can be especially useful for those seeking to ensure future pension or healthcare access. Now, should you pay for private insurance if you already have public coverage? This really comes down to your personal situation. It might make sense if you don't speak fluent Spanish and would struggle with medical terminology. If you have specific health concerns that might require specialist care, if you value privacy and comfort during medical treatments, if your budget allows for the extra expense without strain, and if you've traveled frequently and want coverage outside Spain. You might skip it if you are comfortable navigating Spanish medical settings, if you're generally healthy with a few medical needs, if you're on a tight budget, and if you don't mind longer wait times for non-urgent care. Many expats start with both, including me, then decide later, after experiencing the public system, whether they want to continue with private coverage. A popular middle ground option is a hospital plan that covers just emergencies and hospitalizations at private facilities while using public care for day-to-day needs. Now, let's talk about the advantages of having both. So many expats who qualify for public health care still choose to maintain private insurance, and here's why that might make sense. So first, you get to skip the queues, meaning you can use private care for non-urgent specialists to avoid waiting weeks or months. There is no language barriers because you have access to English-speaking healthcare when needed. There's comfort, you get to enjoy private rooms during hospital stays. There's convenience, meaning you can schedule appointments at times that work for you. As for specialized treatments, some cosmetic procedures and alternative therapies are only covered by private insurance. And for travel coverage, many private plans include coverage when traveling outside Spain. Moving to Spain really has been one of the best decisions of my life, and having the right health insurance made that possible. It's not just about checking a box on your application, it's about peace of mind in your new home. You know what they say about insurance: Better to have it and not use it than to need it and not have it. So if you found this helpful, hit that like button and subscribe for more practical advice on moving abroad. Drop your questions in the comments or send me an email and I will do my best to answer them based on my experience. And that's it. See you in the next video where we'll talk about apartment hunting in Barcelona without getting scammed. Trust me, you will want to watch that one. Hasta luego.